of problems with the property next to us at 8096. It's a rental property. From what we've been able to find out from our neighbors, this has been an ongoing problem for many years. We've lived there for about 10 months. The first tenant in this property was a crack cocaine user. He would come over to the house frequently asking me for rides, asking for money. He was incarcerated for a lot of the time he was living there. The second group of tenants was two individuals. The one individual ran over his girlfriend intentionally with his car. They were arrested for the manufacture of, possession of, distribution of, and use of crack cocaine and other substances. The police were there for weapon sales. Their pit bull would get out into the front lawn. We have children playing in the neighborhood. These people are a burden on the taxpayers. They're a burden on our neighborhood. They're just a public nuisance. And we found out that the landlord does not do credit checks or background checks when he moves people into this house. And these people were still squatting there. Even though they were kicked out, the power was turned off, the electricity was gone. While they were squatting there, the one tenant was arrested for breaking into a car and then arrested a week following that for smoking crack in the garage behind. It's been brought to my attention, from what I understand of the law, if we get enough petitions, we can have this house condemned, and then it'll be an agenda item for the council to be torn down. I'd like it for not to go that route. Hopefully, if there's some other way that it can be intervened, maybe to enforce some sort of background check or something to preserve the integrity of our neighborhood. But this house has become a problem, and the Drug Enforcement Agency just did a raid on another house across the street for a similar problem. There's about 10 cars outside. They battered the door down, raided the house, and we saw two individuals going in through the window this afternoon. So if you could help us out, otherwise you'll be seeing some petitions. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Our next speaker is Karen Springer. Good evening.
Good evening. These are real glasses. They're special for people who can't tolerate other type of glasses. I'm here to address the smart meters and the citizens of Warren, because the local government doesn't take this matter seriously, and the efforts that I have done as a citizen to be concerned about the public health and safety is going to be a real issue by 2030 and even 2015. Because these meters are a reality, DTE has put them on our neighbors' homes. And I'm just going to quickly show two maps.
Can we
Is
get
it
someone?
this way or this way?
Ms. Springer, yeah, that's showing your map that way, but let me see if I can get someone from communications to help you.
Okay. Well, the point is, there's a big map. You can read it, self-explanatory. Says all our neighbors, who lives next to us. This is the same map, but it just shows the zip codes. This gives the bigger picture. This is a smaller picture. Communications, to me, is very important to the citizens of Warren, and I believe every council member who was educated about the smart meters. Maybe it'd be nice if you just wrote a little story about your experience of what you read and what it means on the safety and health of each resident in our city. Because the next move, the citizens will have to call the state representatives, the legislators, who can make laws to protect us, because the local government don't even have an ordinance to protect us. The intent of the citizen guide, you can hold it,
There.
is to provide some of the special information needed to get in touch with the right people at the right time and to make your concerns heard. It is hoped that it will be a reference tool that will assist you in your efforts to be heard by the public officials. And each one of you are a public official on the local level. I have not yet received a response back in courtesy to the city council. As a citizen, I should have received a notice back. The 3-minute rule, I cannot even educate you what DTE has sent me about the smart meters.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Motion by Ms. Comartin. I'm sorry, the motion dies due to lack of support.
Proves my point.
Our next speaker is Joe Dabrowski.
Good evening, Council.
I'm sorry, is the microphone on?
Yes,
Thank you.
just 2 quick items that I wanted to touch on. I've never been a fan of time limits. I think they're inconsiderate and they don't take into consideration what in fact the council is here for. But with that in mind, if you're going to enforce time limits on the residents, enforce time limits on the council. The issue relating with the water department tonight was unbelievable how long that took. And I understand what Mr. Liss's point was, what he was trying to get out, but there's a lot of times when you're dealing with this administration, you can ask the question 55 different ways and you're never going to get the answer you want. So what's happening in essence is you're beating a dead horse. It serves no purpose. So what we do is one person will ask a question or try and get an answer to a question. They'll try to keep rephrasing it. Then somebody else will try and accomplish the same thing, and you're never going to get the answer that you're looking for. And the next thing also relates to the water department. They were talking about they put a notice, little notice in the water bill, which a lot of people can't read, and then they put it in the news beat. Most of the people I know, myself included, that get the news beat, the first thing I do when I get my mail, that news beat goes in the garbage. I have absolutely no interest in that. I think it's a waste of taxpayer dollars. So therefore, it's just like this, well, I won't mention what shopping center, but there's a shopping center in the city that I was against when they put it up, and I said it'd be a hypocrite to use it. I disagree with the news beat, so I would be a hypocrite to read it. So when they say, oh, we put a full-page ad in the news beat, how many people in the city want nothing to do with that news beat and throw it in the garbage? So I agree. Take a full page, like you do for all the other useless things that come in my water bill all the time, and tell people that you're coming to their home and what you're coming for. Because there's so many people pulling scams, going to, especially the senior citizens, pulling scams and robbing them. So what you need to do is make sure people are informed of what's coming. And I think a full sheet of paper in the water bill would be way more effective than the Mickey Mouse news beat, just like the city business being conducted here in the kangaroo court. We need to start doing things here that are a little bit more professional. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tam Cooner. Good evening.
Good evening. In lieu of what transpired at the circuit court today, I think it's time to remind everyone that a little more than a year ago, citizens came together to reduce bureaucracy, save taxpayer dollars, and make Warren's neighborhoods our city government's top priority. And that's precisely what happened when I led the first successful petition drive in our city's history that limited council from 9 to 7 and created 5 neighborhood districts. We gathered 5,000 signatures. They were certified by the clerk, sent to the county and the state, placed on last November's ballot, and finally approved of in landslide margins by the vote of the people. And I'll tell you one thing, it wasn't easy to make history and an accomplishment, as efforts to defeat our reforms led by Mark Liss and other council members inspired us to redouble our efforts to get our message to the residents. And today I'm especially pleased to report that we won the last battle in the war for our charter amendments when a lawsuit which threatened to destroy my work and ignore the voters' wishes ended in failure at the circuit court today. Because of the reforms that I led, we'll save $400,000. Our neighborhoods will have accountable representation. Candidates will be elected by over 50% of the vote and will be judged by the merits of their ideas rather than by how much money they spend on a campaign. Everyone knows it's a tough time to represent the people well in government. And for that very reason, lawmakers must use sound judgment. So politicians can sit there like a house on the side of the road and watch our city go broke, and the people will stand up and make history once more. We did it last year. This year, we can do it again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Eugene Sawyer. Good evening.
Good evening, members of council. My name is Eugene Sawyer. Just a few remarks. I just want to refresh somebody's memories about our fiscal year and how it ends. It ends always on the 30th of June. And going back to 2009, our fund balance, we used to have a fund balance of $62 million. And consequently, the following year of June the 30th of 2010, we had a balance of $49 million. 2011, we have no idea yet, but it seems to be that it might be about $23 million. It seems that we're in a period of decline. So you have to ask yourself, are we better off today than we were 4 years ago? I don't think so. I think this city is lacking in leadership, and it's going to come to the election. And only the voter can make the changes that we need. Doesn't matter whether we have wards or at large. These people are quite frustrated, as you know, and I'm not going to elaborate on what's going to happen, but nothing is over until it's over. So that I can only say that the people who live in the city, they are the voters, they are the taxpayers, and they are the ones that will make the changes, whether it's for the better of the city or for the worse of the city. All I can tell them is choose wisely, because whatever you choose, you're going to live with it for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Chris Pasternak. Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Chris Pasternak. First thing I'd like to make a mention of is with Robert's Rules of Order. 2 weeks ago, we only extended one person's time limit because Robert's Rules of Order say we can only adjust one time within a meeting. But yet, when a tabling motion is tabled to a certain date, according to Robert's Rules, my understanding is it's automatically off the table. There's no vote needed. So we just listen to Robert's Rules when it fulfills our needs. Next thing I want to talk about is the Lincoln Neighborhood Association meets the first Thursday of every month at 7 o'clock. Their meetings are going to begin at Wiegand Park now for the summer, or right off of Topher there. June 2nd is the next meeting. The next thing I'm going to go on is, today I took some photos, and I just found it very